is America.
America!
I do love America.
Be a part of the show at 850-233-9988. The Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major has been joining us. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. Been joining us now for 10 months. Talking about the legality, the process of getting your money from the insurance company and rebuilding and dealing with all of the mess that is still laying around. If you're going through something, you've got a question, 850-233-9988. Mr. Scott Major, good morning to you, sir.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, there was a film documentary guy who came by the station months ago, and they set this thing up, and they called me and said, hey, would it be okay if he came in and filmed a couple of shows and talked to you on the air about your home and about in a storm or any natural disaster, but in our case, specifically Hurricane Michael, why are we rebuilding homes? You know, what is the process? And they sent over, I don't know if you got this, and if not, let me know, and I'll forward this email to you. They sent over the trailer of this film, and it blew me away. I mean, it is so well done, and it's about, a lot of it is about Hurricane Michael. Some of it is about the wildfires in California. So I'm watching this. I actually pulled it up the other day on my computer to show my son. And we watched the film because he's into filmography and he's into editing and all that. And I thought, man, this is one of the best things I've ever seen, this trailer. So I played it for him. And then it started playing the next film in their Vimeo account. And one of the first guys I saw was you. And I was like, that's Scott Major. And my son goes, that's Scott? And I said, yeah. And you had a really nice suit on. You had a really nice tie on. And you started talking about the processes, right? And you had a really significant part in that part of the trailer. Have you seen that yet?
I have. It's really fantastic.
It was really good. And so I can't wait for that to come out. It's coming out in 2020. And damn it, I'm having a brain... I can't remember the name of the film. I'll look it up and I'll tell the audience. But when it comes out, you can trust me. I'll promote it for them because I think it's worth seeing for everybody. And by the way, can you explain what all goes into... This may be a very basic question. If it's if I'm softballing you, let me know. But what are all the decisions that are made when or looked at when you're trying to figure out if you're going to just not rebuild at all? I mean, how do you determine that?
Sure. I mean, under your insurance policy, if you have a total loss, the insurance company has to pay you the entire amount that they owe under the insurance policy, even if you choose not to rebuild. Now, contrast that with if you are going to rebuild or if you have something less than a total loss, the insurance company, theoretically, can hold back the depreciated amount until you go ahead and rebuild. So if you have $100,000 that is owed to you, and they are going to hold back $20,000, then you can rebuild. You'll get your $80,000, and then when you complete the repairs, you'll get your other $20,000. And this is to ensure that you rebuild. But generally speaking, you are entitled to at least the actual cash value if you have something other than a total loss.
So let's say that you lived in Mexico Beach and your house is completely blown away, and then you decide you're going to you're going to rebuild. Are most people getting enough money from the insurance company to go, to go through that entire process? Because I know it gets complicated. You got to, our operations manager is going through this right now. You got to pull permits, and it's supposed to be, I guess, the duty of the contractors and other people to do that. And then he's having to go down there, and he's having to drive all over the city. And he explains this process to me, and it seems like it's just so daunting. And I could see how somebody would just go, you know what? I'm not going to rebuild, because I would assume you just get tired of dealing with it.
No doubt, there's a great many people who had hurricane-related damages and have chosen either to abandon their property, or they've tried to sell their property for a low amount of money, or they have gotten so frustrated with the process that they have given up. And there are literally probably millions, if not tens of millions of dollars, of available property damage insurance recovery monies that people are not pursuing, either because they don't know that there are Scott Majors out there, or they've been told, or they think that their claim is not worthy of pursuing. Either they've gotten bad advice, or they've gotten an offer which is so low that they feel as though it's not worth fighting. And sometimes you get bad information. Sometimes an adjuster or another lawyer, or perhaps a insurance company might not give you the most accurate information about what is covered. And so you think that you don't have as much money as you really do. Another thing is that insurance companies, when they have to pay you, they have to pay you under each coverage. You don't want them to put the fence under coverage A because they're paying the entire amount. You want to make sure that that fence is under coverage B, which is the proper coverage it's under, so that you don't lose money in getting the max amount of money you need. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's say that you have $100,000 of coverage A, your structures. And let's say you have $10,000 of coverage B. And let's say you really have $150,000 worth of damage. Well, you want to make sure that you get all 100 from coverage A and all 10 from coverage B. So you end up with $110,000, not just 100. And how you do that is to make sure that if you have an other structures claim, that the $10,000 comes from there. Because sometimes in the scheme of things, in deciding to pay you in full or to pay you in part, the insurance company sometimes will separate out where that money's coming from. Your loss of use, which is coverage D, is a different provision than your other structures coverage. You don't want them to burn through one set of money when you have more coverage available in another section.
Yeah, Fitz, who's going through that, has talked about all the processes, and there was some. I mean, I don't want to say his business. We've talked about him before. He's been on the air. I mean, he's talked about how he's gotten some monies, but the other. In other words, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it seems to me like people that were doing this on their own in the beginning seemed to have a certain amount of success to a point, and then now. Everybody that I talk to is hitting their head on a wall, and nobody is having any success with the second phase or that other half part of dealing with the insurance companies, no matter what their situation is. And two, I would assume that also comes into play about, with some of the businesses around here. I know that there is a shop near my house that I always went to. And after the storm, I drove by it, and it was completely demolished. And I mean, I literally sat at the red light and could feel my face frowning as I'm looking at it. And I knew the guy because he was a listener to the show, and the owner happened to be in there one day, and he recognized me. I said, hey. And so every time I'd go in there, this guy, he was so sweet, he was so nice. And he called me, I want to say about 2 months ago, and he said, hey, we have another location open. And he goes, I couldn't wait any longer. If I was going to do business, I had to go on my own dime and make another shop down the street. I had to do that. And, to me, having no recourse other than to take your own money out of your bank account or whatever and open up another shop because the insurance company is being what they're doing is really disheartening. I mean, to say the least.
No doubt. And I think that a lot of people, just as we've learned, have not been paid in full, and they think that they don't have any remedy, and they actually do. And you and I have talked about this. If you're owed $100, I'll take your claim. It's not about the amount of money. It's about making sure you get paid in full. And unless you're getting paid in full, it just doesn't make a lot of sense for you to give up. And to me, I think that this whole process, people have learned that there have been techniques that insurance companies have utilized that have not rewarded every single person with the maximum amount of money. And I can't emphasize enough that having the right lawyer involved can impact you in a tremendous way. We talked about this a couple days ago, and it bears repeating. You can't believe how many insurance companies are calling me on the phone and begging me for a demand number for their clients. And in every case, all I can think of is, geez, I wish that Kramer and I had been successful in the first month to overcome all the bad-mouthing people had about not hiring a lawyer or all the ignorance about not having a lawyer, because I would have gotten all these people this money 9-10 months ago. And I can't emphasize enough that I am getting daily or weekly calls on my claims with offers from the insurance company, please pay, when they didn't offer to pay a dime during the time period before I got involved. It makes sense to have a top lawyer who they're intimidated by or they respect, however you want to look at it, that will help you to get the rest of your money for your claim.
I think there was a lot of misinformation in the beginning. I think, since this area had never been hit like we got hit. In fact, I don't think many areas anywhere have been hit like we were hit. But I don't think that people knew the protocol. Maybe in southern Florida they get hit at least, with more minimal hurricanes, and thus they know kind of the protocol and then what happens. Then they know what a PA is. They know what a lawyer can do in a situation like this. So they probably have an edge. Here, I think there was just it was so devastating, and there was just so many people that were kind of scatterbrained because no one really knew what to do and knew the steps to take. And I think at this point, it's really important that you're on so that people can know that right now, at this late phase, that if once you get an attorney, especially a good one like you, who's been doing this for a long, long time, that things can start happening. And I think that's the important part of you being on. I think you've gotten the message out, both fundamentally and eloquently, the way you come on the air and talk about it. I think it's helpful. You often ask, do we think that what you're saying and what you're doing is helpful? Absolutely. I think it's just important to stick with it, to the long term, which you have. It's been, in 2 months, it'll be 2 years. I mean, a year. Think about that. Over 10 months right now. Scott Major's up for Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. If you want to hop on the air, you got a question you want to ask him, the phone number is 850-233-9988.
This is Kramer. News Talk at 101.
I thought you said we were going to ease up on the sweets after Christmas.
I didn't say we were going cold turkey.
You're not dreaming. He's really back. He's really back. Back to Kramer in the morning on NewsTalk at 101.
We got Major. Yes, we do. We got Major. How about you? Scott Major with us today from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. 844-800-LAWS. To contact Scott off the air. 844-800-LAWS. 1-800-I-DIG-JULIE to get a hold of Brian Parúas. He'll make sure that he picks up the phone. 1-800-I-DIG-JULIE to contact Scott. Good morning. Good morning. What do you have for breakfast today, Scott?
I had protein cereal.
Ugh. You're too healthy
Delicious.
for me. Do you ever sit there and spoon out some grapefruit while you're talking with us?
Absolutely not.
Hate grapefruit. Unless there's sugar on it, then it's tolerable. So right now in the process, what kind of phone calls are you getting? Is it mainly insurance calls, people dealing with the insurance companies?
Yes. The lion's share of calls are from people who either were told they're not entitled to any more money and they don't realize that they are, or calls of people who have been told that, there is no coverage for a particular item when there really was. And the third set of calls are from people who just don't know what to do at this juncture because they've either been told to wait or they otherwise don't know the status of their claim.
Otherwise don't know the status of the claim.
Right. In other words, they don't know, either they have a public adjuster or a contractor, and they don't understand why they haven't been paid, and there's no explanation that's been provided to them to help them to understand.
What happens, I've been meaning to ask you this. What happens when you go, say somebody calls you up and they go, hey, I got this public adjuster. I've had him for 5 months. Nothing's happening. I keep calling. Either I can't get a hold of him or they're not getting a hold of the insurance company. And then once they call you and they go, hey, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what to do. This guy's not having any luck. Love him to death, but that's not what's happening. Do you work with the public adjusters? Do you create a relationship there? Or is it tenuous? How does that work?
Sure. The lion's share of public adjusters that we work with love us because we're helping them, because a lot of them have a contract provision that says if we collect money, they still get their money. So they get their 10% if we collect additional money. So a lot of adjusters call us and talk to us. Some adjusters, want to hold on to the claim because they're trying to get the max amount of money, and they think that if they just wait, the insurance company is eventually going to pay. Sometimes you have tension because some of the public adjusters, they wanted to make money early, so they poo-pooed the lawyers or said you don't need them or said there's an expense associated with them, and they took the cases. And in a lot of cases, public adjusters become my friends because after they go and get the money they want, they're contacting us to try to get as much money as they can for their clients. The thing that I find challenging is that sometimes people wait too long. Contractors and adjusters wait too long. And as a result of waiting too long, what happens is you're losing the opportunity to get money to people sooner. We're going to get them their money when I get involved. They're going to pay, because if they're not going to pay, they're going to pay a whole lot more later on when they have to pay both for the amount of money that's under the insurance policy, plus thousands or tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars of attorney's fees and costs if they try to fight this to the end. And so the most important thing for people to understand, as you and I have talked about, is, hey, what is the status of my claim? Where is my claim? And why haven't I been paid to date? And if I haven't been paid to date, I need to get a lawyer involved to help me to maximize getting my money now.
If you want to hop on and ask Scott a question, 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. Stormhelpteam.org. That's definitely important to say is that accepting another lower amount for any reason when you're owed a certain amount, not in the cards. That is not in the cards with Scott, and I love hearing that. All right, so hop on the phone if you got a question you want to talk to him, 850-233-9988. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. More to come.
The most listened to morning show in the Panhandle. This is the Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Delighted that you are joining us this morning. Hello, my name is Keith, a.k.a. Kramer, a.k.a. beautiful hair. It's okay. 7:35, Scott Major joins us from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. And there's also another familiar voice on the phone this morning. Scott, you may have met this gentleman before. His name is Brian. Good morning, Scott and Brian.
Boom.
Boom.
What up? Boom.
Boom.
Sorry I'm late, guys, but my wife's got me on this diet and I have no energy.
What's the diet?
It's like don't eat a lot of food ever and don't drink any beer ever. And I drink Coors Light. It's not even really beer. It's like just refreshing on a hot summer day.
Of course it is. You know, that would be something that Scott does not know anything about. You know, he's single, and he's never had to do that before. He doesn't know what that...
He does whatever he wants.
I envy him so much. Oh, my God.
He's got the life. The life of a
has
bachelor.
the life.
I want to get him on the show, The Bachelor.
Just listen to him. You know, every time I talk to him, he just sounds so unstressed. You know, there's no...
So laid back.
Walk around doing whatever you feel like you want to do.
What does Scott want to do today?
Whatever he wants to do.
Scott, what are you doing today? Sleeping, I guess. Is he playing golf? He's probably putting at his house.
Are you on the greens right now?
I wish.
He's in a sauna somewhere. Yeah. I mentioned you a while ago. I said, I gave the shout out to Julie, which we must do every show.
We do it all the time, no doubt about it.
Is he still there, Brian? Did he punch out? Brian. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Brian, did he just hang up? What? Did the wife come in and say, hey, no more phone for you this morning already?
That's right. He got his allotment.
Oh, my goodness.
3-second allotment. And
Look at that. He is gone.
That is some funny stuff there.
Brian, look, when you get out of timeout, you can call the big boys and play. It's okay. Hold on, let me go to caller Scott. Scott, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey, man.
How you doing?
Please yourself. Listen, I'll try to summarize as quickly as possible my question. I got enough for my insurance company to put a roof and an air conditioner back on my house. They both got destroyed. But then they lagged on, and I kept telling them, you got to do something because without conditioned air, I'm going to get a mildew bloom. And I did, and because of that, I lost 3 rooms of my house. They initially tried to give me $700 to replace my kitchen, my children's bathroom, and my garage. And after arguing with them, I did this all myself, I got them up to $16,000, which, as I'm sure you're both aware, isn't anywhere near enough. But I just got tired. In addition to that, finding a contractor who would work on my job, they all came and said, well, you'll have to sign over your benefits, or they just never returned with the estimate that they promised. So I started working my own, and I'm almost done doing it myself for that much money, just use that for parts.
Damn.
But my insurance company has now come and started to harass me and said, well, you haven't finished the work, so we're going to turn off your insurance. You'll have to find a new company, which has frankly just pissed me off. Is there anything I can do, knowing that $60,000 isn't even close to what it should have been to replace those 3 rooms?
My recommendation to you is to get legal counsel. Either call us or we'll give you the name of a good lawyer and try to maximize the amount of recovery you can get so that you can fix your property. If you don't, insurance companies, maybe not even this one, but insurance companies may not want to insure you because nobody wants to insure property that are not repaired, or they may provide riders or exclusions that may harm your ability to get insurance. So it is so important that you go and maximize your coverage by getting the proper estimates and photographs in place and getting them over to them and then pursuing it vigorously. And if they are not responding, get a lawyer involved so we can either sue or we can write a demand letter explaining why they have underpaid you and you need this amount of money to fix all of your rooms and all of the portions of your structure.
That seems easy enough. Perhaps I'll give you a call later today.
Hey, hey, Scott, I have a question for you, Scott the caller.
Sure.
When they originally came out and offered you $700, and then they went from $700 to $16,000, did they explain to you why they originally offered you $700?
Yeah, they gave me an estimate, said $700 for a replace the sheetrock in those 3 rooms, which that itself is, I work in construction and facility management. So I know for a fact that's ridiculous in itself. It should have been at least $2,500 to replace the sheetrock in those 3 rooms.
See,
off the top of my head.
I mean, that's the deal. If somebody doesn't know, then they just go, well, okay, and then they find out later that that's nowhere close. That's what's happening. I mean, we get tons of call after call after call after saying, people later realize how much they got gypped from the insurance company. Man, that makes me mad.
Yeah. I turned around and got them up to 16 because I got an estimate just for material for the kitchen cabinet. And I showed them, look, this is just the kitchen cabinet. They said, okay, here's $60,000. Well, what about the other 2 rooms and everything else that has to be done, all the plumbing and wiring and everything that has to be fixed? And they just went crickets. Said, nope, we're done. Now they're, in addition to turning off my insurance, they gave me a list of things. Well, these aren't repaired. And some of the things that they have on their list that aren't repaired yet, they refuse to pay for.
God, what a scam.
It's just not.
You need a lawyer, and this is just happening all over the place. It's so sad that people don't know we exist to fight for the customer. It's just unfortunate.
Scott, 844. I was just going to tell Scott, the caller, 844-800-LAWS. Call Scott today. Make sure you call him, 844-800-LAWS. Caller, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead. Caller. Yep, you're
Brian.
up. Go ahead.
Brian's back.
Oh, Brian. Hey, Brian.
Technology, baby. Gotta love it.
Yeah, that last call, that kind of thing, when the insurance company comes in and they say, we'll give you $700, and then you call them back and go, hey, that's a little on the ridiculous side, and then they go, oh, well, okay, $16,000. Well, we could do this all day. Hey, that's ridiculous. How about we jack it up another $50,000? You guys feeling in a good mood today?
So infuriating because just like you just said, you so properly said it. It's amazing that, they don't even have an explanation for why it is that they tried to get you to accept $700. They said, okay, well, let's just try this number and see if you take that number. That's the sickening part of this, the sad part of this, and the angering part of this, that this goes on, that we have to have this. And it's the same way when we contact the insurance company or when they contact us and they realize who we are, and then the numbers jump just incredibly.
Yeah, good morning.
It's so infuriating.
Caller, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't realize you were on. Go ahead. You're up with Scott Major and Brian Parúas.
I'm having trouble with my insurance company, so I got a legal card a little over 3 months ago, and I've heard nothing from them. I finally called them, and they told me that because I tried to call the insurance company since I couldn't get them, and they say every time you call the insurance company, they get a 30-day extension. Now they say my settlement is 3 to 5 months out. What do I do? I mean, it's almost a year now.
Wait, who told you that? Say that again. You hired what? Who to work
A
with you?
lawyer. A group.
Okay, and then they said to you that every time you call the insurance company can delay the claim for 30 days?
Yeah, 30 days.
What the heck is that?
Rule. There's no such rule. And I can tell you for sure that, like I said, we have filed more suits than I can count. And insurance companies are calling us directly, and their lawyers are calling us directly, asking us for the demand amounts. So there is no basis for the delay. And you can call the insurance adjuster if you want directly. It's better that you have you do it, but there's no harm in you doing that. And all I can tell you is if you're there right now and you don't have the money, hire a different lawyer if this lawyer's not helping you. I've never heard of that, and we wouldn't tell our clients that.
Well, that's what we were told. Every time we call, they get a 30-day extension from called harassment. So I'll just have to call y'all then when I get off this thing.
844-800-LAWS.
Very unusual.
800-LAWS.
Very unusual. Sounds like it's a delayed tactic.
I'm getting to where I hate this attorney as much as I do my insurance company.
Wow.
That's a shame. That's unfortunate.
Call these guys and let them help you. 844-800-LAWS. And by the way,
Get a free evaluation. No problem. Let you know what our thoughts are and see if we can point you in the right direction.
what does happen in that case if somebody? We talk about the scenario of someone not being happy with their public adjuster or their contractor or whatever. But what if they have an attorney and they're not happy with them? Is it? Contractually speaking, is it hard to get out of a deal with an attorney that you're not happy with, and then switching over to you guys?
The answer is no. We have certain ethical and special rules that if you're not happy with your attorney, you can go to another attorney. If that attorney has time in or costs in, then they can have a lien on the file for the amount of time and costs that are in. It usually isn't very much, especially early on. But you just need to be with someone that you're happy with, that you think's going to fight for you and get you your results, and not tell you that the insurance company gets 30 days every time you call the insurance company. So
why would a lawyer tell somebody that? I'm trying to figure that out.
In the world, I can only think that maybe there's some miscommunication between the lawyer and the client, and maybe they don't want the client to call. I'm not sure, since I've handled or been involved with thousands of claims and never heard that kind of excuse. I can just tell you that maybe there's just some miscommunication going on. Bottom line is, as you and I have spoke about for 10 months, 11 months, now going on almost a year, you just need to get the right person fighting for you, who cares enough about you, that's going to try to get as much money as you're entitled to under your insurance contract.
I know that people here are hurting, and they're impatient, and God only knows. I can only imagine what it must be like. Your life is turned upside down. You're living in a tent or a camper. The insurance company's sitting on their hands. You hire someone to do something, and I would assume that you guys probably get a lot of from what you're doing. You probably sense a lot of that frustration when you're dealing with people. I'm sure that it's there. Let's go to line 8. You're on the Kramer Show with Brian Parúas and Scott Major. Go ahead.
Oh, just called in. I'm already on.
You are on.
I just got a curiosity question. I had been, I wouldn't say arguing, but discussing with my insurance company about a replacement of additional windows in the lower kitchen cabinets, because the bottom of the kitchen cabinets got stained or got waterlogged, and they wanted to just replace the toe kick, the kick plate and back panel in it. As soon as they declared the hurricane Category 5, it seemed like suddenly I got everything I was asking for. Is that a coincidence, or I was just kind of wondering on that if declaring it a higher hurricane made the insurance company say, "Whoops, we better give in on some of these claims."
Well, I can say a couple of things. Number one, I think that the insurance companies recognize that with these kinds of damages, that are suffered from a typical Category 5 storm, that it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to fight you on claims. They've taken their chances. They've tried to delay or to negotiate down. Now they realize that it is a very serious storm. That is part of the reason. Another part of the reason is they're just getting to understand that it's very expensive for them to defend against lawyers like us. And so it makes, again, good sense for them to be reasonable about this. We're just finding that even in situations where the insurance companies ask us for demands, they're trying to lower the amount of money that they absolutely should pay under the policy. They're trying to negotiate down, even though they well know that they owe the entire amount of money, say, on an estimate. And so you just have to have somebody who's willing to say, if you're owed $18,000, we want all $18,000, or we want $17,000. We're not taking 12. And if you guys don't like that, call us next week after we spend another $1,000 or $5,000 of attorney's fees, and now it's up to 23. So it's just very important for you to get, smart and good advice. Again, I want to remind you and all the listeners that most of you have window damage. Make sure your windows have been evaluated to ensure that you get paid for the replacement or repair of windows, because if you don't, you might have waived your claim and not have a chance later on to get that kind of damage.
Yeah, they upped almost every window. Except I had 5 brand new windows put in right before the hurricane, and those were fine. But they have now, my argument was upping the number of windows that really needed a replacement. And as I said, as soon as it turned Category 5, every single window was added to the claim. And it's like, where did this come from?
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, they have really very little defense. Like, what's your defense now? It's not like it was a tropical storm. They can argue all kinds of things. It wasn't from the storm. It was pre-existing damages. You didn't mitigate your damages. All kinds of things they can say prior to being a Category 5. Now it's like, well, you really have very little arguments to make us on the defense side. You weren't blasted by a Category 5 with 155-mile-an-hour winds? Yeah, you were. So everything suffered. These houses, again, some of them weren't built up to the proper codes at the time, but they still insured the property. So now they're on the hook to pay. You paid your premiums. You saw the house, or you had ample time to see the property before giving me this policy. And if you did or didn't, that's on you, insurance company. Now it's time to pay.
Good. Thanks.
Thanks for the phone call, man.
Have a great day. Yeah, great questions.
850-233-9988. Double time today. Scott Major and Brian Parúas from Major Parúas.
Feeling weak, Kramer. Feeling weak. I need some protein.
Wake it up, my friend. We'll be right back. Stand by. This is Kramer.
I call it fun.
News Talk at 101.
It's the Kramer Show. It's News Talk at 101. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. Brian is on the phone. 844-800-LAWS. That's their phone number. 844-800-LAWS. Tina, you're up with Scott and Brian. Go ahead.
Hi. I have been trying to reach out to your office or through the 844 number, trying to get some information regarding our windows and get them evaluated. And unfortunately, I have not received a return phone call. I was wondering if there's someone who can help me out to give me a reference.
Sure. You know what? Give me your number. Sure. As soon as we get off the air, I will call you personally. How's that?
Okay, perfect. 850.
No, Tina, let's do this. I'm going to put you on hold, and we'll pick up, and I'll get the phone number, and then I'll text it. I'll text it to those guys. They'll call you.
Beautiful.
All right, great.
Thank you. Thanks, Kramer. You're the man.
No, just sit tight there, Tina. I'll be back. And if somebody wants to call them, their phone number, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Brian, the last time you guys were in town, we were talking about how one of your roles, I guess, which is vital, is to make the initial phone calls and get on the phone and talk to some of these guys. And sometimes, as you said, and I think this is pretty amazing to hear, that once you get on the phone and you begin that relationship process, things sometimes can happen fairly immediately, correct?
Oh, so true. So I will usually get a high-level litigation adjuster or a major law firm calling us on the other line, and we start talking. They tell us, listen, this is what we have to offer. Are you willing to take a discount? And I'm thinking, why would we discount the claim 20%? What's the point of the discount? Well, to save time. I go, well, the more time we're in, the more money you have to pay the law firm, which is us, and the clients get made whole. So why we're not going to take a discount here in order to get it done quickly. We still will present the offer to the client, but I don't see what the point is of discounting a claim 20% in order to get the claim closed. I will do that if the client insists on it. But again, we still want full value. We want to get them their interest as well for waiting 10 months to get their monies, and want to make sure that all of our fees are paid directly by the carrier. But that's a lot of the conversation that we have is, hey, when you want to take a discount, I'm like, well, I asked the client, listen, what do you need? You need $100,000 to get it done? Is that the number you need? Sure. So if you get, I'll tell them they need $100,000. You get them the $100,000 and you pay us our fee, we're good to go. But as far as discounting 20% off the top, it doesn't make any sense. But that's kind of the conversations, the way they've been going lately.
Scott Major, Brian Parúas from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team, 844-800-LAWS. Tina, you sit tight. We're going to pick up and get your phone number. Gentlemen, a fantastic hour with a lot of great information. Thank you, as always. Thank you so much.
Hey,
you're the man,
thanks
Kramer.
so much, and thanks for helping us and the consumers in the radio listening audience. Appreciate it.
Be well, fellas. I'll talk to you soon. Brian,
see you soon, brother.
Tell Julie we said hello.
Oh, she is a lovely lady. She's looking so slim and trim, baby. Wow. Blowing my mind.
Awesome. All right, fellas.
Later, Kramer.
See you later.
This is live and local morning radio. This is Kramer.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.